a fun option to include for some matchups. It could work out in the prize exchange here, as single prizers can do some work.
It's time to put down these prizes and see how things are going to be lining up. Lumineon and Archeops over on Ciaran's end. I mean, the Lumineon, that's always nice for being able to get a supporter, so that kind of stings a little bit.
Yeah, just the one of Lumineon in the list for Ciaran, so unfortunate there might be an issue. And of course, double choice belt there for Isaiah Bradner to get over the hump with that Lugia VSTAR. Maybe you not have to use all your powerful energies. That could be an issue as well.
And in this matchup with these Lugias, there's been so much talk from players that play this Lugia about the importance of being able to go first, to start going for this setup. And it does look like it's all going to be on Ciaran to get this off on the right pace. Yveltal to start things off in the active spot with Lugia V on Isaiah's side of the board.
Yeah, not the ideal starter, I suppose, there in that Yveltal, the amazing rare Pokemon, but we did see that hiding dark energy in the hand, so that could be useful in finding an easy retreat and also getting to hold on to some of these energies in the early stages of the game.
Yeah, going to opt for the capture energy to start things off, though, since that will help the most with the setup to get the Lugia bench. You want to make sure that you get it down right away so you can go for that turn 2 summoning star as fast as possible, because that's one way you're going to quickly throw this mirror is all of a sudden if you cannot get this Lugia Archeops set up and you're just a turn behind.
Of course, one Lugia, very important. There's a lot of debate over if you go for a second one when you're the player who's going first. Looks like Ciaran believes that he will be able to find that Lugia at a later time, so going to go ahead and grab the Oranguru first. Sequencing makes sense. If you are going to see an additional card, you might as well give yourself the opportunity to find a Lugia off the top of the deck. You do play 4 of those, and you only play 1 Oranguru.
Yeah, a couple of different ways to be drawing into that. Though just the 3 on Ciaran's end, so not quite as easy. The 4 of's always nice. If you could put a 61st card in there, that could be in a nice spot. And it is just going to be that swap, going to be that Primate Wisdom and the Ultra Ball in hand.
Yeah, the Ultra Ball is a nice find. We'll see that played out first. And then, of course, there's a Quick Ball in hand as well. So could potentially see the Archeops into the discard pile.
Thinking about what cards are going to be making their way with that Ultra Ball to get rid of it, and opting to grab this Archeops off of this Ultra Ball here. I mean, I didn't quite catch the rest of the hand with any ways that a Lugia can make their way out.
There's a Bird Keeper. There's some play, but yeah, this is maybe not the most ideal hand to be left on. The Quick Ball looks to be going for that Lugia now, and might have to find some help with the Bird Keeper in order to get the rest of the combo going here. You're asking a lot of 3 cards to find Lugia VSTAR, and you'd love to have a second Archeops in the discard pile, but it might not be that kind of game.
Yeah, you might have to go for that in the next turn, but being able to get this Lugia V down on the bench was the most important. Being able to go for the Archeops first and then throw it away into the discard with that Quick Ball. So you got a couple of pieces going for you. You got 1 bird, you got 1 Lugia, you got the Oranguru, and it's just going to be a pass that have to be enough for now.
Yeah, this is a solid start. You can't ask for much more here, I suppose. It'd be nice to have some extra cards in hand to feel a little more comfortable, but the Archeops into the discard pile and the Lugia down is certainly a strong start. Isaiah now going to have to consider what you do to combat this. The main answer is at least to find yourself a second Lugia so that you're not worried about losing your entire engine. You need to focus around that summoning star to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, and it feels bad when you go second that you have to be benching that second Lugia to make sure that you're not all of a sudden completely ruined.
There's so many energies in this hand. What in the world's going on?
Maybe that explains why his head was in his hands there for a second, debating on what to do.
That was ridiculous. I think I saw 5 special energies. It's just going to be what do you do?
Oh, that was your turn as a Lugia player. To read the wind, that's a pass on over. And I mean, we talked about Ciaran with not the most cards in hand, but definitely looks to be faring
this is
better.
He's got the Ultra Ball. He's going to go ahead and find the Lugia VSTAR. There is an Archeops in the discard pile now. I think you can just go ahead and search out a couple powerfuls, and the double turbo is in hand. So that's going to be a close out here in the opening of the top 8. He's got it.
I just... Wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
What a way to start things off here for the hometown hero. Canada has to be proud of Ciaran as he takes an astounding opener here in the first 5 minutes.
That's so rough. Sure, going first is great, but when your opponent does not have any sort of response, and Ciaran, we were talking, okay, well, he's got some pieces, you know, a little more could have been done, but, you know, at least he's going somewhere. But, I mean, it was miles ahead where Isaiah was able to get with that opening hand, and it's just enough to close out the game. That is the fastest game one that we've seen the entire weekend. That's our top 8 match.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a coughing fall pretty quickly as well, unfortunately, for the Canadian players. It just hasn't rolled out. This time, Ciaran is going to come out on top, and that is phenomenal here. It's a little unfortunate for Isaiah. He's going to laugh it off and say, well, at least I've got about 70 minutes to work my strategy.
Do you laugh it off, or you're just...
Well, if you don't laugh, you cry.
Yeah, I think that's the direction I'd be going towards. Yeah, I mean, you have to hope for a way better hand. At least you get to go first this time. And your hand can't be as bad as the last time.
Don't say that.
We cannot have this be a quick 2-0 because we have extra time on the clock for these top 8s, and I don't know what Chip's going to do with that time.
You know what? You go to the Chip Lounge and you have a good time. But we'll see if maybe Isaiah can give us a better performance now, as I'd love to see a little better start than 5 energies read the wind.
Yeah, not able to get anything on the bench whatsoever. I mean, even if you were, you'd be so behind, but just getting that Lugia knocked out right off the beginning hurts so bad. And for Ciaran, you gotta be feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, that is, what a way to start things off. You've worked so tirelessly to get to this spot, and sure enough, you're up against the #1 seed. It's Isaiah Bradner, who always finds his way to these top tables, and you get a free opening win.
Yeah, when you're going up against someone who has a long list of accomplishments, you're going to take that win every day of the week. The Lugia mirror is already something that these players talk about not enjoying. Lugia players laughing at how many times they've had to face other Lugia decks. So you want to make sure you're getting off ahead, and you want to make sure you can get that one up in the series to try and be able to close it out. A second mulligan now. I mean, we talked about the fact that there is 2 cards that don't help here in the lack of consistency, but the deck is going a little bit beyond that in this moment too.
Yeah, I mean, I get to keep taking a peek at these opening hands, and they look strong until they don't have a Pokemon in them. And what do you do at that stage? You got to go in and try again, and that means that Ciaran's going to get some additional cards here to help things out. And Ciaran's hand already did look pretty strong to start, so it could be another uphill battle, even though Isaiah will be going first.
Yeah, more and more cards that you're able to get into that opening hand. Sure, you're going second, but if you're just able to start taking off first, it definitely could be a way. There is Lugia players that will go second and are completely fine as they're able to get set up, so couldn't be the worst. Isaiah does get a card to start, though.
Rightfully with the hand on the head as he chooses between Luminion and Crobat.
Man, this is the card game is not wanting Isaiah to have very much fun today, huh?
That is true. Looks like both players going to be just fine with those prize cards. Excited to get things underway here. Game number 2 in the top 8.
The Luminion opening. Ciaran's probably just smiling under that mask like, all right, this is, I like that. There's only the one of in Isaiah's deck, and it can be so powerful in these games to be able to search out the supporter, but it has to be when it's played from hand, so it's not going to do too much stuck in that active spot. I mean, it could be you can attack and bring it back into your deck, but it's still a weird place for right now.
Well, Ciaran is not going to like this. Ultra Ball going to throw away the Archeops, and you can see the debate here for Isaiah about the powerful energy. It's so important to have those at the right time. If you can get enough of those worked in to knock out an opposing Lugia VSTAR with yours, and going to lose one of those resources early on. However, I think it's well worth it, as we should be able to see multiple Archeops into the discard pile and a Lugia with this pretty strong start.
Yeah, even if you're losing an energy, the setup and getting the Pokemon out, it definitely has to be that top priority. Being able to have the Ultra Ball and get a Pokemon, it's definitely a lot more Pokemon than Isaiah was able to play the first game around.
Isaiah going to do the patented deck search here. Take a look at every option that he has to play in this game. The energies are so important to keep track of, as you want to make sure that you're never in a spot where you go for the wrong attacker. You're left in an awkward retreating position. We do know these decks don't like to feature switching cards, and I don't think we see any of those in the list for Isaiah.
Nope. And at this point, too, looking like an Archeops to be grabbed off of this Ultra Ball. Isaiah does have another one in hand, so we'll be able to make use of grabbing this now to just pitch it with the Ultra Ball and just get both of those birds into the discard to start things off.
This is a very strong start. Also gets to hold on to the Lugia VSTAR in hand. We did mention that Crobat as the alternate opener here, and holding on to that seems to be nice, as that means that there's going to be some additional cards available for Isaiah if he so chooses. I think you might want to hold out in this position just to see if your top deck is a supporter next turn. It can be a liability to bench that Crobat a little prematurely.
Yeah, and considering that hand is pretty small, if there is going to be the Marnie coming out on Ciaran's end, I mean, you kind of don't want to be setting up that you're giving your opponent more cards to be working with. So the small hand size might help out Isaiah here.
We'll see if there is any debate for Isaiah in this spot. I guess there is merit to looking for one of these energies that you can get down, and then you don't have to worry about retreating as much. But ultimately, these slower opening turns where you don't give information are very powerful.
Yeah, it'll just be the Lugia V put onto the bench, the power of going first. You only have to be benching one of them before passing it over to Ciaran. 2 Evolution Incense in hand. Just going to play the one, though, to start off. And this surely for the Archeops. And, you know, the standard, what else is in here?
That's a good card. Well, let's see if I've got any more of those. And yes, going to take full use of this deck search now. Try to get all this information, as you want to make sure that you have an opportunity to get double Archeops into the discard pile, have double Lugia down as well, so that you're not threatened by a big turn from Isaiah. And it looks like this is the type of hand that can do that. Those mulligans certainly paying off here, and the Ultra Ball is in hand.
Yeah, and it's going to grab that, eyeing up, of course, the Archeops, but I believe a Lumineon as well to be pitching away.
Yeah, we see the Evolution Incense in hand. And it's kind of peculiar to not play that first and then just throw away the double Archeops, and it thinks twice about that.
You don't want to be throwing away something that's going to help close things out at a later time. So the Evolution Incense for the Archeops is definitely a nice little touch to make sure that this Ultra Ball, you can just pitch 2 birds away.
This is very strong. Love to see that from Ciaran. Now going to go ahead and get those into the discard pile. There is always debate of, do you want to open up the play here with a Marnie and disrupt your opponent? You did see that they only have 2 cards in hand, and that was one of the first questions that Ciaran asked to start his turn here. So very interested to see what the line is.
The first Ultra Ball, discarding both of the Archeops. You're certainly getting the engine going, and is going to use that first Ultra Ball to grab the Oranguru. Just prioritize making sure that you can control what is on the top of the deck.
I think this is a nod towards the professor's research that's in hand. We do see some special energy cards there. Those powerful energies, so important. Unfortunately for Isaiah, having to lose one of those. And Ciaran not going to have to suffer the same fate as he places that on the top of the deck and now gets to shuffle with the Ultra Ball. Very clean here.
Yep, second Ultra Ball will have an opportunity to go and grab another Pokemon and get that bench. Going second, could have been a Lugia, but this time around it will be the Snorlax for another attacker.
Yeah, Snorlax is a big hitter, 180 damage, can knock out Lumineon, and can put a lot of pressure on Pokemon. And don't forget that you can also make use of those powerful energies on this Pokemon too, so some surprise knockouts certainly could be lined up.
As well, just the fact that you're only giving up 1 prize when that Snorlax goes down just feels so good. The fact that these decks do feature a couple of different options for these 1 prizers is a way that they're able to be making sure that they can be ahead in the prize trade. The Radiant Charizard being another one that's benched before that professor's research comes out.
I can't think of a situation where you wouldn't high five right there. That's a perfect start. The professor's research for 7 cards, 2 Archeops in the discard pile. The Lugia looking very good, and you're just going to have the Snorlax in the active spot. I guess the only question now is, do you try to find another Lugia? Feels comfortable holding the Ultra Ball here.
Instead, that Snorlax going to the active, it's going to be a pass over to Isaiah, quickly putting down the Lugia VSTAR to get that evolved up. And sure enough, summoning and we're going to get the Archeops onto the bench from the discard. So much more Pokemon than we got to play the first time around. But that Lumineon in the active, you start have to figuring out where the energies are going to go and how you want to be going about this turn.
Isaiah gonna get some information there. Take a look at the discard pile. Says, oh, you've got double Archeops too. I'm gonna have to do something about this and at least get some energies into play. Would expect the Lugia to see some action here. The problem is, what do you do with the follow-up? If his hand isn't going anywhere, then Isaiah's going to be very reliant on the prize cards to help out.
And that's definitely a tough feeling because, sure, sometimes you rip a card off of the prizes and it's everything you hoped for and more. And other times it's, oh, well, what do I do now? So you want to make sure that you have a different plan of action to be all set up. And you have to make sure that you can take advantage of the fact that you did go first in this, because with these Lugia decks, all of a sudden if you just miss out on one turn, you could be behind and just give all the advantage over to your opponent.
Looks like Isaiah's considering the Aqua return here. So it's going to be a little bit short of the knockout. The Snorlax has 150 hit points, so not taking a prize card. Feels weird in this matchup that you're so used to seeing the prize cards flying left and right.
Yeah, at least you'll be able to get that Lumineon. With the Crobat coming out, though, to finally get some more cards in hand for Isaiah to hopefully use, to hopefully have a little bit of better luck with.
To see the Dark Asset trying to help out here. Radiant Charizard in hand. It's a little early for that. And where do you go from this point? You can attack in. You could just pass the turn. It doesn't feel great when you're staring down a Snorlax that you can't even knock out at this stage.
Especially, too, you know over on Ciaran's end that pretty close to getting the combo set up, that energies can be accelerated, and the Snorlax hits for a lot more than this Lumineon is doing.
Isaiah's going to eye up some more energies by way of that Archeops. Could be looking to fuel the Lugia VSTAR now, and at least one powerful energy committed.
Going to go ahead and capture energy onto it for the second one. Both of the Primal Turbos being used now this turn, just trying to get things set up in the coming turns. You said it was a little early for this Radiant Charizard, but Isaiah says, maybe not. We're going to bring this out so we have something going on here.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt you. It's not like your opponent's going to target it at any point. You can just leave it there, and it looks like Isaiah is going to get an additional energy onto the Lumineon just to shuffle it back in. So considering all the resources here is Isaiah, and it's just going to be that sacrificial Radiant Charizard at this point. Just can't surrender a V knockout or one of those very important Archeops.
Yeah, it's the only thing that you can really put forward that makes sense in this situation. And it feels bad when that's how the Radiant Charizard has to go down. That ability is so strong later on in the game. Doesn't help you out now, but if you have to lose it, it's a tough situation. V-Star for Ciaran means that Summoning Star can happen to get two of these Archeops on the bench and show off a little of, hey, I'm playing this Lugia too. I can get this acceleration and a little bit of a better situation with an attacker.
Yeah, this is, I mean, think about the call out there from Ciaran on the opening turn, not using the Ultra Ball for the second Lugia. Says, I don't think you're going to get there, and this works out perfectly. Gets to have a bench that has all of the Archeops along with a couple options for attacking these single prize Pokemon. The Oranguru will also help with some consistency, and we see some cards like Boss's Orders in the hand. Might line up for some interesting prize exchanges, as the Radiant Charizard doesn't feel like a great prize right now.
Yeah, later on in the game, the Radiant Charizard becomes super, super scary, but right now it's really doing much. And one of those Archeops or the Lugia V-Star would definitely be kind of cute. The Archeops, of course, being the main engine, even Crobat for 2. It'll be the first Primal Turmo for 2 onto the Snorlax, and then Guard Energy onto the Lugia V-Star.
Yep, that V-Guard energy going to be beneficial if the Lugias end up attacking each other. So going to go ahead and solidify that option there, and we could potentially see a target down on Archeops. It's a great way to limit the potential for Isaiah. He wouldn't be able to accelerate and get some additional play, but we do see the Serena there is going to target the Crobat now.
Yeah, the Crobat, that is a nice, easy 2 prizes just sitting there waiting. It needed to be put down so Isaiah could get some cards, but it feels bad when you're in that situation with it being a liability.
I was worried for a second thinking that it was a double turbo energy. It's actually the one twin energy on the Snorlax, so thankfully we'll have enough to knock out the Crobat V, and you can see that Ciaran is definitely in the prize exchange now. 2 quick prize cards and a single prize Pokemon in the active spot.
Snorlax does have to go to bed now, and just the 1 bird keeper that is on the prizes for Ciaran. But we've seen also how these rolls go if it even makes it past this turn.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It's of course very awkward for Isaiah to handle this Pokemon. We've already seen on the opening attack there with the Lumineon, just leaving damage on the Snorlax feels weird, and you certainly don't want to just attack in with a Lugia VSTAR. So perhaps now Isaiah going to try to put together the math for a big knockout on a V Pokemon of his own.
You try and make sure that you keep any sort of momentum, because you're quickly losing some when you're having 2 prizes taken from you pretty early on and not really having too much in ways of attacking power. With the Lugia VSTAR, it's another 2 prizes if it goes down.
Going to lose the choice belt, and these decisions are continually getting tougher as Isaiah has not had a lot of cards in hand to work with here. Of course, the Lumineon was shuffled back in by way of Aqua Return, so going to have an opportunity to grab a supporter card with that.
Being able to Aqua Ring, I mean, it hurts when you're not taking a prize for the turn when that happened, but being able to have the utility of it now to give yourself some sort of out to piece something together is definitely a lot better than what this alternative could have been.
I guess the decision now probably already made, as we see the choice belt was not the one of the cards held on to at this stage. If we saw the belt, then maybe you go after the Lugia VSTAR and try to take those 2 big prize cards early on. Instead, it's going to be a disruption strategy. Hopefully the Lugia VSTAR hangs around and the Marnie can benefit, slowing down Ciaran as he's off to a phenomenal opener here.
Yeah, hopefully your opponent can maybe have a couple of the same bad hands that you've been having at this point. Has to figure out now with the Archeops where exactly you want to put special energy, or which ones more say, as we're going to see one attached onto this Lugia VSTAR.
Yep, double turbo energy signifies that going after that Lugia is not going to be the job of this Lugia VSTAR. It's going to have to likely be a Radiant Charizard that works its magic later on. So gonna just try to stick around and maybe remove 2 of these single prize Pokemon. It's going to be the job now for this Lugia.
22. Isaiah, yet again, you can see there, like, head in hands, trying to think this through, figure out where these energies need to be going down to mapping things out, because finding yourself on the wrong end of this prize exchange can be tough. It'll be an Aurora energy and that V-Guard energy being attached to the Lumineon on the bench.
Yeah, potential nod to being worried about the return of a big knockout here from a Radiant Charizard, perhaps, and just having an opportunity to have that Lumineon, or even there are wacky opportunities where even you would retreat and try to preserve the hit points on the Lugia, but certainly would expect to see the knockout here on the Snorlax, and would love to see some disruption, but that's a pretty good hand from Ciaran.
It's the Canadian plot armor at this point. That's you're Canada, you're Canadian, you can't lose. It will be the retreat from the Lugia to bring this Lumineon V into the active, and this will be able to do the damage and be able to put it right back into deck.
Yeah, this is something I was hinting at. You could always retreat, use this Lumineon to take the knockout, bring back the Radiant Charizard if you want to, and it's a prize card that Ciaran has already proved that he doesn't want to take just yet, and maybe he doesn't find a Serena or a Boss off of the 4 cards of the Marnie, but we know that that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, when you're just going for that straight classic Lugia and you have that extra space to be able to go for the consistency, the Marnies might look a little bit better, because 2 Serena, 2 Bosses orders in total in the deck is definitely giving you a little bit better odds than some people who like to try and skimp on that count a little bit. The Lumineon V will go for that Aqua Return. That'll be enough to KO this Snorlax, and it'll be an Archeops instead promoted as the sacrifice.
Yeah, as the prize cards start to fall, the benefit of Radiant Charizard continues to grow, and you can see that getting the knockout on the Lugia VSTAR could be difficult, especially when it has that V-Guard energy, but if you keep the Radiant Charizard around, you don't have to worry about that. It's not a V Pokemon, so you can just get that Choice Belt and take a big knockout there. So going to lose some of the engine here in the Archeops.
Yeah, though it is possible with just the one Archeops. So we've even seen Lugias where they have to do that Desperation Summoning Star for the one, and it never feels that great, but some energy acceleration is certainly better than no energy acceleration at this point. It'll be a quick ball to get this amazing Yveltal on the bench for Ciaran, and it's just attackers on attackers on attackers.
Well, we're seeing powerful energies. I think you know what this means. This is terrifying now for Isaiah, as we've already seen 2 prize cards by way of a V Pokemon knockout, and Lugia VSTAR might not be sticking around.
You know, too, when your opponent is grabbing the powerful energies out of their deck at this point, like, oh, there's definitely something very scary in this hand that I am not going to appreciate whatsoever. You can see it on his face.
And, of course, the Lugia benching from Isaiah, a nod to this, saying, yeah, I might need the additional hit points. That was something that can buy turns in these stages, and already down potentially 2 to 5 prize cards in this crucial game number 2.
Wow. And at this point, too, being able to use that Oranguru to put a card to the top in case there's any further disruption going on, and grabbing another 2 prizes with the big KO thanks to Tempest Dive. And Ciaran's in a fantastic spot in this because regardless of what happens, look at what's on the bench. There is an Yveltal, there is a Charizard, there is options.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just the Marnie isn't going to do very much at this stage. The way to get these energies, the Archeops is sticking around. 2 of those are available. Radiant Charizard and the Yveltal will be able to make a push, even if the Choice Belt is found here for the Radiant Charizard on Isaiah's side.
And you have to do something. It'll be a heat energy attached onto this Radiant Charizard, but you still have so much mileage that you need to be making up at this point. You're so far behind in this prize trade, and we hear people talking about the prize mapping and how important these prizes are, and not even missing one, and Isaiah's had a couple misses.
Of course, Radiant Charizard is going to try to assist in this. If it can knock out the Lugia, you get down to 3 prize cards, and then you can see a world where a Lugia VSTAR could help you maybe absorb one of these shots, but it gets very risky when you see that Yveltal on the other side of the board. It can just remove that Pokemon and close out the game.
Yeah, the attack's literally, all right, you're done. There's no no ifs, ands, or buts. You don't have to be looking at the, okay, all these energy, or where's my Choice Belt. It's just, it's game over. It's closed.
I would certainly buy a copy of that card.
It's basically what it does, all right? That's a amazing instructions, fantastic attack to be closing things out. It will be a Choice Belt found for Isaiah, though, so this Charizard is going to be able to pack a punch.
Yep. And we do see the evolution here of the Lugia VSTAR, so the additional hit points mean that not only will the Yveltal have to be the attacker to close out on that V Pokemon, but of course we're going to be looking to see if there is a gusting effect.
Yeah, there definitely is options in the list for that. So we'll have to see if one can be gained. It'll be now the KO onto this Lugia VSTAR in this Yveltal.
Oh my goodness, he found the boss off the top.
Every time.
What an unbelievable way to close out here. We see the energies. That's going to be 5 down onto the amazing rare Yveltal. Boss's orders.
Isaiah knows.
And he's closing out. That is a huge win here for Ciaran Farah in Toronto Regionals.
Big congratulations. The standard Lugia coming out on top, and sure, it was a rough game 1. I mean, game 2 was a little rough on Isaiah's side as well, but still a really well put together game by Ciaran to make sure that all the pieces were aligned at every